It's finally happening. The Red Sox are finally linked to a starting pitcher this free agency. I know it's just begun. We're not even in December yet, but this is already good news. Red Sox have been linked to pitcher Shane Bieber, starter for the Cleveland Guardians, at least throughout his career. And just before we get into the video, I want to mention, and I know I've done this before, but 83.2% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel. And so we would love to have as many of you subscribed as possible. It really helps us out over here. And just make sure that when you're subscribed, you are up to date on all the latest Red Sox news, rumors, reports, etc. We'll have it all right here. So thank you for that. Let's get right into the video now and take a look at our source. So this is the source for this information. This is from Bo Sox Injection on Sports, fans cited by Katie Manganelli. And she says that another former Cy Young winner enters free agency and the Red Sox chase. I really am excited about this. That's the source. And now let's take a look at some of the quotes from that article. I think it's really important to look at these. So this is Robert Murray, one of the sources that she quoted in her article. And she's basically, with this quote, he's saying that Bieber's likely going to be in the Red Sox market. He said that they've had conversations with his team. So that's really exciting to see as a Red Sox fan. And as someone pulling for them to bring in some starting pitching, this could be really enormous. And the second quote I wanted to pull here was just from Manganelli herself. And she said this later in her article where she noted that the Red Sox do need a true ace. Agree with that. And she doesn't think that Shane Bieber is that. She does think he would be a strong part to the late rotation. But again, not the solution, and because he is currently rehabbing an injury, that he shouldn't be too expensive. So based on what Manganelli said, my first reaction here was, I disagree. I think he can be an ace. But as I looked into the stats, and as we'll go through it, my opinion has become more complicated. So let's look at those stats. I think it's going to be really important so that we can get an idea of what the Red Sox are interested in here. So let's bring those right up and start with the Baseball Reference numbers. So sorted this from 2024 back to the first year of his career in 2018. So only pitched with the Guardians, and I have the most essential numbers that I want to talk about here. So first thing I want to get out of the way, all the way to the right in 2020, you see CYA1. That means that Shane Bieber won the Cy Young, and that was mentioned in the article title. That was his best year of his career, 163 earned run average. Incredible season from him. Again, only in 77 innings, though. Remember, this was the shortened season, only 60 games. So even though his numbers are stupendous here, in a somewhat limited sample size. Now, before that, he was a great pitcher the year before, where pitching 200-plus innings, that's something good for the health. Started over 30 games, but then he's only started over 30 games twice in his career. Last time he did it was 2 seasons ago now, at this rate. Technically a season ago if you're including the 2024 season being where we are right now. He pitched over 200 innings, exactly 200 actually, 2022 with a 2.88 ERA. And then beyond that, he's started 21 games, and he hasn't had another season where he has started more than 20. So durability, again, I feel like this has been something that I've mentioned in most of these videos with Red Sox Target, has been a concern. With Trevor Story, who's on the team, that's a concern. So health, I think, is important, and it's one of those factors you can't really measure very well besides how many times has a guy gotten hurt, because we can't know how his ability to be healthy is going to change, because Aaron Judge was healthy pretty much this entire season, but the knock on him a few years ago was this guy can't stay healthy, and all of a sudden he's completely healthy. Sports players in other sports as well, it's just kind of unpredictable. But based on the numbers we have here, he's been strong when he plays. Only one season where he had an ERA over 4, and then everything else has been really strong. But again, I think like Manganelli says, based on these stats, you are relying on that recovery, which might make his contract cheaper. That also might mean if he's recovering, if his contract's going to be cheaper, I might think that that must be a short-term deal. And this guy's 29. So I do think that it would make teams less likely to want to sign him to a long-term contract. I think they'll be weary of that injury history that he hasn't pitched over 200 innings more than twice in his career. That's kind of a bad sign for teams that want to lock in on a guy. But based on his statistics on Baseball Reference, the player here, when healthy, is really strong. And I think he does have potential to be an ace level pitcher based on these numbers. But now I want to take a look at the Baseball Savant stats over the past 3 seasons that he's played. So this is the 2024 year. You can't really look into these because this is just through 2 games he pitched. So red is good, blue is bad. These are all percentiles. The only 2 that he's even on the board here for are fastball velocity and extension. The rest are just through 2 games, and those numbers are really good besides that, but we can't really measure that. So let's go to 2023, where his numbers really aren't as good. His walk rate's great. That's a good sign. You always want a guy that's not going to walk people, make them work for their hits, their at-bats, and their on base. But the expected earned run average is really bad. 4.83, that's putrid. The 284 expected batting average. 284 is a great season for any batter. So expecting a starting pitcher to allow a 284 average, that's not a good sign. The fastball velocity, it's almost in the 80s. That's really bad. The average exit velocities in the 90s. Everything he's giving up on average is hard hit. His chase rate is average. Whiff rate below average. Strikeout rate well below average. The walk rate again, that's good. Barrel rate in the middle, okay. Hard hit way down there. That's really concerning. I think if you have a hard hit rate and then you have a low fastball velocity and you're giving up a lot of hard hit velocity pitches, it's not good. That's a sign of a pitcher who's going to give up a lot of runs, a lot of great contact. And one thing that surprised me was this ground ball rate, which is a positive. Because if you're giving up hard hit contact on the ground, it's a lot better than allowing hard hit fly balls, because that means home runs. Now, the extension just means that the pitch is going to look faster. So that'll make up for some of his slower velocity pitches, make those pitches look faster. But based on this, I'm really concerned about me disagreeing with Manganelli now. I'm starting to see exactly what she's saying, if he's going to be a solid back rotation option. And I think the way that Shane Bieber's been portrayed is as a star pitcher at the front of a rotation, especially winning a Cy Young, albeit in that shortened season. And lastly here, we take a look at his 2022 stats. These are a lot better. A lot better. And this is when he pitched, mind you, a full season. I like to call it full. He pitched over 30 games, started, and he pitched over 200 innings, which means he was there the whole year. He had a 3.51 expected ERA. Slightly above average. That's good. The expected batting average, middling around 40. And then the velocity and average exit velocity, again, really high. Not good. But the chase rate, strong. The whiff rate, strong. The K rate, above average. The walk rate, among the best in all of baseball. That is the first stat that I've seen that's jumped away off the page to me. That's a guy I want on my team. The barrel rate, average, that's fine. Hard hit rate, again, really low. So the problem here is this guy is someone who's not going to walk hitters at his best, and he is going to figure out how to strike you out and get you out. But if you make good contact and look for your pitch, you might just send one over the bleachers, which, again, I think that's always the case, but his stuff does force a lot of ground balls, and he's got great extension. I really like seeing the great extension for someone with lower velocity, because that means that their pitches are not going to look as slow because the extension is further, meaning that there's less time for the batter to react to the pitch as it comes. Now, the ground ball rate's exciting here because of that average exit velocity. A really sharply hit ground ball is going to be easier, despite how hard that might be to field. It should be easier than having to try and rob a home run every play. So that being said, I like these numbers, but these numbers from 2024, I can't really judge off that. And then these numbers from his last healthy season where he qualified, they're just not great. Which brings me back to the quote from Katie Manganelli. Now that we've looked at these stats, assessing this, I actually agree. I fully agree that an inexpensive short-term contract for Shane Bieber would be ideal. And it's all going to be about what the conversations are going to be like with other teams, because the Red Sox have been in this rental business forever. It seems like all of the signings that the Red Sox have made that have made fans a little bit excited have been signings for players who have stuck around for a few years and either really had an impact or didn't pan out. And those are smart contracts. They should always be signing those contracts, especially from a fan's perspective. It's good to see. But I think, and again, I'm no general manager, but I've watched this team for a long time and I've seen what goes into these winning teams. They do need to sign an ace. Manganiello's on point there. Absolutely. Shane Bieber, at his best, can be that ace, but based on the recent statistics, it doesn't look like that's what he will provide at what could be expected in an optimistic approach. But at his worst, he does look like a bad number 5. But I don't think we're going to get that. I think it's going to be something in between. So with the Red Sox targeting Shane Bieber, I think that I personally, as a Red Sox fan, am excited because going after starting pitching is important in showing that the team is addressing the needs that the fans think are needs, which running a front office can always be difficult that way because sometimes the fans think one thing and the off front office thinks another. And it's hard when fans think they're right and either are right or not right. And then the team has to stick with their vision. It's really tough. And I commend all the people in that organization because that is a tough, tough job. It must be. But summarizing all of this, Shane Bieber being targeted by the Red Sox, we went through his stats, decided that he's got strong numbers, but the percentiles are not as strong, and he hasn't been healthy last year, and then he's had some health issues in the past. Only pitched 2 seasons of over 200 innings. Might be a concern. So a shorter-term deal, as long as another team's not going to pounce and give him a long-term, large contract, would be in the Red Sox favor. Absolutely. And he could be, at best, the number 1 pitcher in this rotation, depending on how the season goes. But at worst, that number 5, which, again, that's a great range of volatility, which I think is not something that when you're looking for a starting pitching, you want an ace. That's not what you're looking for. So there are other players on the market yet to hear reports about, but this was all about Shane Bieber. Thank you for watching. I'm Evan Sharrard saying so long for Red Sox Digest.